Hey, LinkedIn. Happy Wednesday. I'm Christine Kidder Graves, your executive career coach. I work with marketing and sales executives, and I'm here to help you have work that works for you. And today I'm talking about how do I know if a role is ideal for me? This is a question that I get a lot. And I think I get it too because I refer to you finding an ideal role. I'm doing a master class right now, I'm in the middle of it. It's called How to Land an Ideal Role Without Doing a Job Search. And you're still welcome to attend, even if you've missed the first couple days. You can still join us. So anyway, that's why I get this question. I feel, and it's an important question because I want you to determine if a role is a good fit for you. So how do you do this? Well, it starts with a previous question, and the previous question is, what is your brand? Okay. I want you to be clear on what your brand is, who you are, what you're up to, what you're about. That's your brand. How are you invaluable to others? What is your superpower? And if you're not clear on that, I want you to get clear. So ask yourself that question right now. How do you rate your clarity in your brand on a scale from 1 to 10? And if we did a career clarity call, you'll probably remember I asked you this question. And if you haven't done one of those calls with me, I encourage you to do that. Because again, it's a great way for me to get to know you. If you're a connection, I want to know all of my connections. If we're not connected, maybe we should, because we might be able to collaborate. I might be able to help you, vice versa. But when the career clarity call is my opportunity to have a conversation with you, to connect with you, and to give you my feedback on your LinkedIn profile, which is a reflection of your brand. So again, we're getting back to brand. You need to be clear on what your brand is, what your skills and strengths are, and how do you want to use them. That ideal role is the how. How do you want to use your brand to benefit others, to be of service to others? So that, and how do you want to spend your days? Because we all spend about a third of our lives at work. So it's really, how do you want to spend a third of your life? Think about it that way. That's a pretty big deal. So if you're thinking right now, "Huh, I'm not very clear on my brand. I'm like a 5 or a 6." I really want you to be super clear, like a 9 or a 10. You can do this. You can do this simple exercise to get clear. And this is a fun exercise. The first non-triathlon coach that I worked with had me do this exercise, and I thought it was a good one, and it's stuck with me. And I have my clients do it too, when the time is right, when they need it. So to take the 5 people that you spend the most time with in your life and ask them for 5 adjectives that describe you. So again, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, ask them for 5 adjectives that describe you. And some of those people should be from work too, because again, we spend a third of our lives at work. So, but it can be a mix of people, because again, it's the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So ask them for their 5 adjectives. But before you get the adjectives from them, I also want you to think about, answer the question for yourself. Like, if you had to describe yourself, like the person who you are, right? What are those 5 adjectives? What would you use to describe you? And then the second piece to that is, who do you want to be? Are those 5 adjectives different for the leader that you want to be, the person you want to be? And if that's the case, why can't you just be those 5 adjectives now? What's stopping you? Why can't you be those 5 adjectives now? So yeah, so get clarity on your brand by doing those things, okay? And that will bring you a step closer. Okay? So now let's say you've done that exercise, you've got better clarity, you're closer to a 9 or 10 in your brand clarity. Now the question is, how do you want to use your brand? So think about all the jobs, all the positions that you've had so far in your life. What did you like? And maybe even take a piece of paper. This is another good exercise to do, and just draw a line down the center of the piece of paper. And on the left side, you can just write all the pluses, all the good things about all the different roles that you've had. And then on the right side, the things that you really didn't like about those positions. Okay. And this evolves and changes as we get experience, as we get clarity on what we value. But going through that exercise and actually writing it down on a piece of paper, or you could just dump it in a Google Doc or Word document. But I don't know. I still like my paper, my pen and paper, actually having to write it down. There's something about that exercise that is really good. So by looking at that on that sheet of paper, then that should give you more clarity on what you like. What would be the components of an ideal role? How do you define an ideal role? What is important to you? That's what we're really trying to flesh out, is what are the components of an ideal role for you, where you are really using your brand, your skills and your talents, your superpower. So what are those components? The other part of it is, how do you prioritize those things? Because some of those things are going to be, they're going to have a heavier weight than other things. Maybe you like going into the office, and that's more important to you than than the commute time, or just balancing the different things. What are the priorities to you? Or maybe this point in your career, you are really looking to have greater responsibilities and you want a larger team. You want to be supervising more people than what you currently do. You want to lead a larger team. How much of a priority is that for you? So really putting it down on paper, I think, is the best way to capture it. But of course, if you prefer Word or Google Docs, that's fine too, because that way you can easily edit and change it around. That's fine. So that's, again, that's that ideal role. All right. But the starting point is your brand. You have to have the clarity on your brand in order to identify how you want to use it. Okay. How do you want to use it? And then what are the components of that ideal role? What else makes up an ideal role? The industry that you would be working in too. The industry, the size of the company, the culture, the corporate culture is so important. Out of all the factors that I hear that are important to people, I think culture influences us the most. Excuse me, I had to have my smoothie here. The other thing that I know impacts us greatly in our roles is who we're reporting to directly. That our boss really has, depending on what kind of boss they are, I mean, they can really have a huge impact on us. And I want you to be aware of that when you're supervising your teams as well, the impact that you have on your team members. That is really important to be aware of. So culture again, industry, the size of the company, the stage that the company is in. Would you really thrive in a startup? Working in a startup environment is not, for everybody, versus, not everyone wants to work in a mature business. So again, like really evaluating those things. Now, as you're doing this, as you're like really contemplating and like putting together what is an ideal role for you, I want you to also be engaging your connections. That's important. And especially your connections who have worked with you. They have that firsthand experience knowing what it's like to work with you, to work for you, to supervise you, and really engaging them and getting their feedback as well, because they can help you more clearly identify what that ideal role is for you. What does that look like? And then also, too, as you're engaging them in conversation, they could, they might be aware of opportunities. They might think of people that you should connect with or companies that you should watch. But your connections can really help you a lot in determining if a role is ideal for you. Um, Even if you're interviewing with a company right now, if you're looking at a specific role at a company, definitely want to be checking with your connections in, because do they know of anyone who works at this company? That's the ideal. It's like getting a reference on an employer, checking to find out what kind of culture that they have. Ideally, if you can talk with someone who has been in that role, that would be key. Of course, you have to take into account that person's perspective. But still, the more information you can get, the better. Finding out, you know, what it would be like to work for the person that you would be working for. Again, trying to get that information, but that's great information that you would be able to access from your network, from your connections. So, so that's why our connections are so helpful. They really they make a huge difference. And I wanted to share my one of my secrets. I think it makes a huge difference in rating a job opportunity. So look at your connections, and the majority of your connections that you may have may be from the function that you work in. Like if you work in marketing, the majority of your connections may be other marketing connections. Um, but I want to encourage you to also try to connect with other people and other functions. Okay. And my network started off with a lot of accounting and finance people because that's where I started. And then I branched out into other areas. I have a lot of human resources, contacts, connections, and then accounting and finance. And then as I've grown and become a career coach, I've definitely developed my connections in marketing and sales. So for you, in evaluating opportunities, look at your connections, look at the people that you know, and have people in human resources in your connections. Make sure that you have connections that are in HR, because I feel as part of the human resources community, we have a lot of good information on companies too. We have an insider perspective on companies. And if you have HR people that you can talk to about the companies that you're interested in, like even if you just have companies on your watch list right now, maybe you're not actively interviewing, you're pretty happy with where you're at right now, but you're interested in some companies. They just piqued your interest. They're on your radar. um, Talk with some people in your network that are in human resources and ask them, hey, what are some companies that you've heard of that are employers of choice that are, what do you think about these companies that I'm interested in? Um, Again, having some HR folks like me in your network can be very helpful. Um, there are always lists too that come out of top rated employers, and maybe some of the employers you're looking at right now are on those lists. But that will help you as well to determine if a role is ideal for you, if you do want to go work for that company or not. So yeah, so that's probably my favorite tip when I'm working with clients. Whatever we can do to get some perspectives from HR or people that have worked at the company, that is really helpful. But you do have to tap into your connections. Like again, regular work by tapping into your connections is a great way to land an ideal role without doing a job search. Because again, I think many of us know that the job search process is really pretty broken right now. Again, I'm continuing to hear from people. I do new connection calls. I do my career clarity call. Like I have at least a couple scheduled every day. And in talking with people, people are telling me that, yeah, I submitted my resume. I never heard back. I never received any feedback. Or then there's the other extreme of I've been through every step of the process. I've interviewed with 5 people. And they ghost me. I never heard back. And that is not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all. So I think that employers are very challenged in filling openings with the right people. Their teams are stretched. But of course, that's no excuse for ghosting anyone and not getting back to people. So, Glassdoor is a very good source. It shouldn't be your only source, but I do recommend going on Glassdoor to evaluate a company just to see what they have that is intel that can give you more information. There is another website too. There's at least one other that I'm aware of that can give you inside scoop into a company too. But I'm sorry, I don't have my notes. I can always post it in the comments too for you. But there are certain websites that can give you good intel on companies to help you evaluate an opportunity to determine, is this an ideal role for me? So to just again to summarize, if I had to put it all together for you, number one, it starts with your brand. You have to have clarity on your brand and how you want to use your brand. If you don't have that, then take some time. I'm not talking about hours, but take some time to get clarity on that because that is really important. How do you want to use your brand? Um, a third of our lives again is at work. So it really needs to be a good match for us. So that, and then what are the components to an ideal role that are priority to you, that you really value, that are important? So really getting clear on that. And then also tapping into your connections, really asking your connections for feedback, asking them, having them on your side, having them, you know, share their connections if they know of anyone at the company, just to try to get intel again and to really get their feedback too. There's a networking group that I belong to, and the board members are fabulous. They're always saying to the members of the group, if you, and this is for people that are in transition, executives that are in transition. And it's like, please let us know where you're interviewing. How can we help you? We can help you get information on these companies. We can help you evaluate them. So those are the types of connections you want, your connections that will help you to make good career decisions. That's really key. So anyway, so those are my suggestions on how do you find an ideal role. Okay. And then again, you are still welcome to join our master class. Tomorrow is day 3 of how to land an ideal role without doing a job search. And whatever we can do to help you to really fully leverage your connections so you get found on LinkedIn, so you're not in hiding. um, oh, and this is an excellent comment from Ellen. Thank you so much, Ellen. So, do you have a recommendation or a template I recommend for people reaching out to ask for information? Yes, I do. I do have a template. So I can I have some resources that I can share, but basically it's, just to let people know, hey, I'm interested in finding out more information about your company. Do you have just like 5 minutes? And I'm happy to, share like connections with you. What can I do to help you? I think the main thing is that you're, as long as you can offer to help someone else, that good exchange of information is always a good thing. So, but again, I can share more resources on that in the comments too. So maybe a link to a template that I have. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. And again, join our masterclass if you can tomorrow at 12 p.m. Bye.